That was very cool. I will trust in the Lord. I wonder if I can ask Bailey to highlight our families with kids. It's Aaron and Dave Cruz and Refugee Point Human Resources there. And it looks like maybe Joanna is by herself this morning. So if we can get those three highlighted with me, spotlighted with me, that would be great so that I can see what's going on with the kids. So I wanted to start by telling you about a story that Jesus told. He told a story about a king who was really kind and really generous to one of his workers. You see, the worker borrowed a whole lot of money from the king, but the worker wasn't able to pay it back. He owed the king like $10,000 million, a lot of money. And the king asked him for his money back, but the worker couldn't pay it, and he begged the king to help him. And so the king's heart was moved, and he decided to be generous, and he told the worker that he didn't have to pay back the debt. You know, when we don't have to pay something back, we call that forgiveness. Can you say that word with me? Forgiveness. When a debt doesn't have to be paid, it's called forgiveness. Now, that would be a great story all by itself. This king was generous and he forgave the worker his debt. But Jesus' story keeps going on. You see, the worker had a friend who owed him some money. It was a tiny little amount of money, like $5 or something, but it was still a debt. And the generous, forgiving king expected that his worker would do the same thing that he did and forgive his friend that little amount of money that he owed. But the worker did not forgive his friend. And he was kind of mean and crabby about it. He's like, dude, give me my $5 back. Like, I want my money. Well, the king was not happy about how mean the worker was to his friend. And in the end, he punished the worker for not forgiving his friend. So I wonder, do you think that the king wants us to be like the worker, or does the king does God want us to be like the king, or does God want us to be like the worker? What do you think? Do you think God wants us to forgive? Yeah. Go ahead, Peggy Sue.
Like the king.
Yeah, he wants us to be like the king, right? Jesus wants us to really be generous with forgiveness. Well, in this story, the grown-ups think that the king is kind of like God, and we are like the workers. We're supposed to forgive each other like the king did, just like God does, right? But do you think it's easy to forgive? What do you think? Do you think it's easy to forgive somebody who hurts us?
I think I want to be the princess.
Oh, she wants to be a princess.
She wants to be a princess. Well, I'm sure that the king had a daughter. I see your beautiful crown. It's so pretty. And I bet you that the king taught the princess to be forgiving, just like the king was. So I'm guessing the question I have is, has it ever been hard for you to forgive somebody that hurt you? Did anybody ever hurt you and it was hard to forgive them? Did that ever happen to anybody? So Emmy, what if Elliot broke something that was really special to you? Did that ever happen?
Yeah.
Yeah. And was it hard to forgive? How about you, Harriet? Was it hard to forgive when one of your friends or when your brother might have broke something that mattered that you loved?
Was it hard to forgive?
Was it hard to forgive? I don't know. It's hard for me to forgive. Like when somebody does something mean to me, it's hard to be really generous with forgiveness because sometimes it seems like they don't care that we got hurt, or maybe they were even sort of happy that they broke something because they were mad at us. And so they did something mean to us. Did that ever happen? But Jesus knows better than we do, right? It's hard for us to forgive, but Jesus knows that. And so Jesus gives us these stories to help us to remember that it turns out that when we're not forgiving, we're the ones that end up being hurt because we lose friends. We lose relationships. We don't have very much, it's not easy to be mad at somebody, is it? When you're mad, it makes us feel bad. Well, here's the thing that's most important. God will be with us when we're trying to forgive. And it's a little bit like, I'm going to get up from my chair now. And I don't know if you noticed, but I have this pumpkin behind me. Can you see the pumpkin, anybody? Do you see it? So, can you see the pumpkin? Do you have any pumpkins at your house, anybody?
No.
Well, here's the thing. God will help us to be generous. And it's kind of like being a pumpkin. Guess what? God takes the pumpkin out of the pumpkin patch and washes it all off, gets all the dirt off, right? And then God opens us up. Just like that. God opens us up. And guess what? What's inside the pumpkin, everybody? Is there some goopy, yucky stuff? There's some goopy, yucky stuff.
Oh, it's so gross.
Yeah.
Oh.
God goes in there and scoops out the pumpkin goop, just like that.
The seeds are wonderful though.
It's the seeds, right? God opens us up, touches us way down deep inside, and scoops out all the seeds of hurt and anger and disappointment and crabbiness. God helps us with all those hard feelings, just like that, right? And then when we're sad, God carves us a new spirit like that. Look, God takes away the hard stuff and carves out just like we do with the pumpkin. And then the next thing you know, there is a happy face because God makes us happy. And then after God shines, after God gives us that, is that going to work, Reverend Tom? God shines. How's that? Can you see the light in there? It's a little bit too high, I think, but God puts a light inside of us so that we can shine and be the light in the world. Yay! I love that. I love being a pumpkin and knowing that God will carve out the goop and make me a light in the world. Will you guys say a prayer with me? Will you repeat after me? Dear Jesus, let me be the light.
Let me be the light.
Help me to forgive when I get hurt.
Help me to forgive when I get hurt.
Scoop out my yuck.
Scoop out my yuck.
So that I can shine.
So that I can shine.
And be the light.
And be the light.
Amen.
Amen.
All right, we're going to have a song and then we're going to have communion. So don't go away.
Graced with garments of great gladness, I shall leave the depths of sadness, enter into glory's splendor, there with joy my praises render to the one whose grace unbounded has this wondrous banquet founded. Sing, my soul, your story telling, Christ eternal in me dwelling. Brightness that my life so brightens, light that all my soul enlightens, joy that joins my heart in